Hi everyone, for anyone that's new here, I'm Fraser and I've been solo cruising now for the last couple of years. Now in that time, I've been with 7 different cruise lines and have a genuine belief, and I'm hoping that this channel can help you with it too, that there's a cruise line and a cruise ship for absolutely everybody. All you need to do is find it, and I hope that I can help you do that. Now today we are in Alaska, so we're in Skagway, and we're going to be looking at the top 5 things that you need to think about if you're planning to come to what I think is one of the most beautiful parts of the world. Okay, so yeah, number 1, as we said, is absolutely the scenery. Now, scenery on this one was a bit unexpected for me really, and I actually didn't think we would be sitting here telling you that it's something you should consider, but it was more the logistics of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, to be on a ship, I was a bit concerned that usually I go up mountains and we climb to the top and we look at the views. So I was thinking, am I actually going to see the views when I'm right down at sea level? But it is a totally different perspective to climbing up a mountain, and you absolutely do. I mean, the width of the channels we were in at some points was only a few hundred meters. Yeah,
but I mean, the thing that we wanted to let you guys know, I guess, was that while you absolutely, I mean, you'll see the scenery, but it's the logistics of it you need to think about. So where do you want to be when you're experiencing all that scenery? So we had initially booked a dining room at, was it 8 o'clock? Or?
Yeah, I think it was a bit earlier than that.
Yeah, so like, well, whatever time we'd booked for, say it was 7 o'clock, when we got on, it basically coincided exactly with the sail away that we had from Seattle, which we ended up going to that like relatively late, shall we say, but very late, about an hour and a half too late.
45 minutes at least, maybe an hour and a half.
So yeah, we ended up going to dinner pretty late, and we then learned actually for the rest of the week we want to make sure that, just due to the kind of people we are, we want to be on the top deck taking photos while sail away is going on, rather than trapped at a dining table. And we actually we did change our dinner reservation every night.
The other thing you need to think about is be flexible on the day.
Yeah.
Because if you plan everything in advance down to the closest 10 minutes.
And I try.
Yeah, and Fraser really tries to do this and have a set itinerary, but the captain might come on and say, if you head on over in half an hour up to the decks or onto your balconies, we're going to be going through an area that's got high whale activity. You don't want to be going down to your dinner reservation. You want to be out on the balcony or on the decks with your camera, your binoculars, whatever. So you do need to be a little bit flexible, because animals, they don't run to an itinerary, much as you try.
Yeah, so I guess the advice that we would give is, like, have a look at your ports online. There's so much that you can do from a research perspective, and we're going to upload the ports that we've been to so that you can see what you can expect if you sail away from them. So if you're on an inside passage cruise, you probably will benefit from them. So we went to Juneau, Skagway and Ketchikan.
And the Endicott Glacier.
And the Endicott Arm, yeah, that's right. So we're going to upload videos from all of them. So I probably should shamelessly plug right now. So if you'd like to see them, please click subscribe, which hopefully, I think we're pointing at the same bit. Not
somewhere
sure.
Along the bottom.
Somewhere at the bottom. Totally free for you to do, and it really helps to bring you more content. So yeah, we'll get them uploaded in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, on to number 2.
Number 2, excursions. Now, before you go on an Alaskan cruise, definitely look at the itinerary well in advance, because there was so much to look at. And we found we like quite different things. So the stuff that I was attracted to was wilderness, outdoors, getting a bit lost, finding some wildlife, whereas you were a bit more...
That's not me. Not at all.
So what I was really excited about was getting off the ship and into the wilderness, which you can absolutely do. There's guides to show you maps, where to go, how to be safe, especially when there's things like bears around, which be bear aware. Not my advice, but take the local advice for how to not have a bad encounter. But there's also loads of planned itineraries, and you did a few of the excursions.
Yeah, that's much more for me. So I would much rather get off the ship, be put on a bus with other people from the cruise, and then, to be honest, the big thing for me is that I want the security that ship is going to wait for me. And obviously if you do your own thing, then you run the risk of that not happening. And yeah, I mean, well, it's a rarity that I have other people on the cruise with me, but usually being solo, the last thing I want is to be left somewhere out there with me and my passport trying to find out how to meet the ship. But yeah.
Now, that being said, if you are going to plan to do an excursion with the ship, especially on an Alaskan itinerary, you really need to book it in advance. The ports are super small, like some of the smallest you've been to.
Especially what was Skagway. Yeah.
Tiny, but we were still in there. There was 4 ships.
Ship number 4, yeah.
Exactly. So whilst you're in there with 4 ships, different cruise lines, thousands and thousands of people in a tiny port, those excursions could be booked up before you even get on the ship, never mind arrive at port. So you definitely need to book them in advance. We did book a few on the day though.
Yeah, at Juneau.
At Juneau,
yeah. It depends on the port. I mean, Juneau, for example, I think, is it the capital?
It's the largest port on this particular itinerary.
Yeah, and I mean, it had vendors that were available and they had buses that were free, and like it was fairly straightforward to book on, but somewhere like Skagway where you've got like 2 or 3 tour operators, like, you're absolutely right. I mean, we got off the ship at like 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And everyone had beaten us to it. We're the only thing, I think the only thing left was like...
It was a city tour on a bus, and it wasn't even the picturesque bus, it was a coach. So we didn't pay to do that.
Yeah. But hey, look, that's number 2, and we should probably move on to look at number 3. Okay, so number 3 for the things that you need to be thinking about is absolutely what to pack. Now, I've seen quite a lot of reviews and quite a lot of blogs looking at this exact topic, but you know, nothing actually could surprise me for what we've seen on here in the last week.
Yeah.
So I think I naively thought coming to Alaska in July would be, I mean, not hot, but I thought it was going to be a bit more mild than it was, and there was a few mornings where I luckily threw my woolly hat and threw my scarf in the bag, thinking, well, who knows, if anything, like, you never know. And actually, I was wearing them for the majority of Wednesday
Certainly
anyway.
at 6 a.m. on deck 16, he was wrapped up to the nines.
Yeah, it wasn't warm. Now, there was quite a lot of people on this cruise who spent a fair bit of money, actually. And good on Princess, actually. So Princess do decent clothes that you can buy on board. So they've partnered with like Helly Hansen and a few other brands. And they very conveniently wheeled the shop out to the bar at the back of the ship. So if you were there at 7 o'clock in the morning and you were complaining it was cold, well, that's no problem, because you can buy a hat, you can buy a scarf, you can buy a jacket. But my advice would be, like, just make sure that you pack enough layers. Now, we realised pretty much getting off in that the first port, like, you can literally get all seasons in a day here.
Yeah.
So we got off in Ketchikan, and it was pouring with rain in the morning, but then the sun came out, and we thought, oh great, well in that case, we probably don't need to take all these waterproofs off the ship with us. And yeah, to say we got caught was probably
an understatement.
A bit of an understatement.
But what you do need is you need a backpack that's got layers, waterproofs, so you, no matter what happens in those seasons, you're going to be able to enjoy the day. But something we should also mention is when we were sailing out of Seattle, it was 32 degrees. And that's the same cruise that a few days later, you've got every woolen item.
Like literally 48 hours.
Exactly. Really variable.
Yeah, so just take a backpack, be prepared to layer up, be ready for having trousers on in the morning. Oh, actually, we've seen quite a lot of people that wear like the trousers that zip off into shorts. So that kind of thing, not really I mean, I wouldn't usually wear them, but actually they work great.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but like we're gonna upload a full separate video because both kind of what to pack, but also like the dress code on Princess.
So the dress code has completely shocked me, because you see the itinerary, you see there's going to be smart casual every night, but a formal night, a dress to impress night. But even on those nights that were formal and dressed to impress, there's still people in shorts and t-shirts and someone else in a ball gown. So definitely keep watching for the video that we're going to do on that, and we'll do it from both a male and a female perspective, so that hopefully it covers everything.
But hey, what to pack, done. Number 4.
On to number 4. Number 4, wildlife. Now, I absolutely adore every animal on this planet, and I would have come on this cruise for the animals alone. We've seen bears, whales, dolphins, porpoises, bears, and then so many smaller animals as well. And all the encounters have been amazing. Well, maybe not all.
But yeah, I mean, I do think that while it's great to say that like all that is amazing that you can see all this wildlife, I totally agree that it is, but I'm probably a little bit on the other end of the spectrum where, to be clear, yes, love animals, yes, love wildlife, but I actually don't really want to be encountering a bear or like a lot of like reptile-y things. I don't want to be anywhere near them. So the bit of advice that I would definitely give, I mean, we went to a lecture on this ship actually, and it was looking at wildlife and it was looking at the things that you have to be aware of, and it's little things like, and this actually, I'm gonna hark back to being a solo traveller, but if you're on your own and you go for a walk, I actually never even thought, but they recommend that you wear like a little, I think they call it is it a bear bell they call
bear
it?
bell.
It's literally like a little cowbell that you put on your backpack, and it just means that when you're walking through the woods, you're not going to surprise a bear because it'll hear you coming. And just little things like that, yes, the wildlife here is remarkable. I mean, we were literally on the top deck, and it was like American eagles flying over every 30 seconds. But you need to be aware of what's out there, and just taking really, really simple precautions can really help.
And the precautions are really easy, and I don't think we should go into that because we're certainly not qualified, but there's plenty of people on the ship, on YouTube, who can just give you great advice about how to be bear aware, how to be safe. And if you are thinking of going on walks on your own to try and see the wildlife or just enjoy the environment, just make sure you've watched a few of those so you know what to expect and how to look after yourself. Now, you touched on the lectures, and we can put a bit of a link in the video now to show you the guide who was doing all the lectures on our trip, but they were incredible.
So good.
Such a great presenter.
And I usually would hate a lecture as well.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
We should say a lecture on holiday doesn't sound great, but they're in the theatre, there's loads on the screen, they're super entertaining. The people that do them are experts in their fields who've committed their life to the subject matters that they're talking about, and they were fantastic. I mean, we've had on this ship as well Libby, who was the first woman to ever win a husky race across Alaska. So incredible people that definitely go to the lectures because they will amplify your experience of the wildlife because you just know a little bit more.
But we even had going through, so we did like a day of, or a morning of scenic cruising where we had like 4 hours in Endicott Arm, and I need to get this word right, the naturalist.
The naturalist.
So we were calling him a naturist?
Naturist is a really different type of person.
Yeah, and it turned quite a few heads on the ship, but the naturalist basically gave us like a guided tour of that fjord, and he was sort of talking to us about like the wildlife that you could see on the shore, and it was like, honestly, it's really opened my eyes because some of the wildlife we've seen this week,
has been
I've never seen it before, and I definitely didn't think I would have got so close to it from a 20-deck ship.
Yeah. And to so many different types, birds, sea, land, everything. And something we absolutely should remind everyone to do is bring your camera, your lens, if you're into a more kind of intense binoculars for sure. We didn't actually bring binoculars, and we're in the minority not having that. And when you're looking out to sea from 16 decks up, a whale fin, whilst impressive, it is quite far away.
Very small, yeah.
So yeah, definitely bring your equipment so that you can enjoy it to the full.
Yeah. Okay, so number 5, and the things that we think that you need to think about if you're planning to cruise in this part of the world, is connectivity. Now, in the world that we live in, and I definitely should say, as someone who works in IT in the real world, I absolutely love remaining connected to the world outside of this ship. And I actually thought, naively, coming away with Princess, you know, one of the things that they push is that they've got this mobile app to remain connected with people on the ship, and they've also got Wi-Fi for everyone if you take one of the packages, and that, in my opinion, would let me reconnect with my friends at home that I don't have a great deal of time to speak to normally. However,
it's not been the best, and there's definitely been some frustrated people on this ship. And
I mean, there's been whole days where we haven't been able to contact
anyone at all, and that's through phone signal, through the Wi-Fi, through kind of absolutely everything that on land we're just used to getting.
But I think what we have to be so clear on, and we want to be abundantly clear on this, that is not at all us having a dig at the cruise line for that, because we've spoken about it a lot on this trip, and you're literally sailing through the middle of mountains in the middle of nowhere.
Rural Alaska.
Yeah, and I think for people to come to this part of the world and expect to get 5G quality internet connections, like, it's just not going to happen. And we did see someone on FaceTime earlier, which, how they got connected to FaceTime out here, I do not know, and I wish we'd asked them. But yeah, I mean, at the beginning of the week, and I'll even Seattle, it was fine, and that's how we know actually. I think the connection on the ship is a little bit slower than I expected it to be, but it's definitely working. It was working for the first kind of couple of days, but then when we got more remote, it just became a bit of a challenge, didn't it?
Yeah, we found it really easy just WhatsApping each other around the ship to find out where we are.
That's what the entire time.
Fine.
Yeah.
Not sending a picture, but you're in Alaska, you don't need to necessarily be doing that. So there is some connectivity for sure, but it's not 100% reliable, and I doubt you're going to be streaming anything on it.
Yeah, I mean, if you do come here and you manage to stream, please let us know in the comments because we would absolutely love that for next time. But yeah, look, I think what we would say to this effect is, I mean, even the ports that we were getting off, I'm on, well, what was my American SIM that I bought?
We're on T-Mobile.
Yeah, so I got a T-Mobile SIM thinking that, you know, I'll buy like 10 gig of data and that'll be loads. And the guy in the shop said, oh yeah, obviously the guy in the shop said, our coverage is amazing in Alaska, you'll be totally fine. But I ended up with what, like 2 whole, and it's a first world problem, but 2 whole days where I couldn't post an Instagram story.
Shock horror.
Which for anyone that knows me, you'll know that probably would have frustrated me a bit. But yeah, like don't be expecting the kind of speeds that you would get if you live in the centre of the US or if you live in London. It's just not going to happen, and to be honest, for quite good reason.
Because you enjoy the scenery, enjoy where you are, look out for the whales, and switch off.
And as cheesy as it sounds, live in the moment.
Exactly.
Or live for the moment.
For the moment.
For the moment. Live for the moment. But hey, look, for now, I think that's probably all that we wanted to run through, isn't it? So that's hopefully given you a bit of help that if you are planning to come up here or come over here, depending on where you're watching this from, that's some things that you need to be thinking about. Now, if you have enjoyed this video and if you found it useful, we would really appreciate if you could click subscribe just underneath. That would be a massive help for us. And we'd also love to hear from you, so please drop a comment and let us know, when are you coming to Alaska? What ship are you on? So as I said, we're on Discovery Princess, but we have seen loads of cruise lines here. We've seen, what, like 5 or 6 different lines, so we know that they're all coming up here. So yeah, which are you going on and why? Let us know. But look, for now, thank you so much for watching as always, and we'll catch up with you all soon. Thanks.